So today's topic of discussion, VCA mod? Yeah, that's what we're gonna go with. So the VCA mod, also known as Vehicle Control Add-on, adds an abundance of things. So when you first get into a tractor, you're gonna pull up to a field. The very basic keys to remember: left control, left alt, and W. This will set your work width. So once you have your work width set, you're then going to want to go in and set your lane, which is Alt and W. Then you can go in and hit Control W, and that'll activate. That's it. That's the whole video. All right, bye guys. No, I'm just joking. So pretty much when you're starting out, that's the keys to remember. Left Alt Control. So left Alt, left Control, and W will reset your work width. So if we go in here, this is all your vehicle control add-on settings. So you can have it so your interior camera rotations. So the interior camera rotates automatically according to the steering angle. So that means when you steer left, your camera will rotate left. When you steer right, your camera will rotate right. You can also have it happen on the exterior camera. So it'll do the same thing. When you steer left, the camera will go with whatever way you steer. Personal preference, I leave mine turned off. Look backwards inside, look backwards outside. So what that means is if you put your vehicle into reverse, your camera will automatically change to facing backwards. Then again, I leave mine turned off. I do believe most of mine are all default settings. Peak sideways, which is currently on. So here's what we'll do, is I'll do some of these just to show you what they do. So interior camera, we're looking forward, we steer to the left, we go to the left. Steer to the right, we turn to the right. So if you're not running track IR and stuff, it could be good, and you can change that so it's not as strong, it's not as like powerful. So as soon as I go to the hit reverse, I now look out the back, and this is doing this automatically. All I did is, if you look in the bottom left right hand corner, you'll see I literally switch from reverse to drive. It did it itself. And then the peak feature is right shift, and on your keyboard, your arrow keys. So that's my left arrow key, my right arrow key. This key here will actually put me permanently in the reverse, so I have to hit it again to come back, and that's forward. And if I hit down, it's a quick look back and then back to forward. So that's what those are. And to get in this menu, your default keybinds for it is Control and C. So we're going to turn that back off. We're going to turn that back off. We're going to turn that back off. Peak sideways, I leave it on, but I don't really use it a whole lot, and you guys will notice that as I'm playing. Adaptive steering, I leave it on. Steering speed, I've left mine at 50. I've changed it sometimes. It depends on my mood and how I feel it's working. Inverse steering speed, I'm not sure what it does, but I just leave them default settings. Free steering, I leave it off. This is where we really need to be. So the tracking guide. So that is your white and blue lines that you see out on the field. So left lane guidance every 90. So what this does is you get to the end of the row, you make your turn. Well, as you're making your turn, you can actually snap to do, like, let's say you're doing your head lane pass. So you can come down north south. When you want to go west and east, it'll automatically snap over to that 90 so that you can do your head lanes on GPS, and it does it automatically. Draw marker of line guidance. So here you have if inactive, which means it's not being used, the lines will not show. You will have it always show, and what the high means is how tall the lines are. So when you're in a big crop, let's say like corn, having them high is really good because then you can see them through the corn. So you can have it always, so it's always on. Whether you're using it or not, it's there. Or you can have it never, so you never see the lines. If inactive, this is the lower state. So if it's not being used, it'll shut off. So let's say you activate it, you start driving, it'll shut off the lines. It'll keep you on, but the lines won't be visible. And then you can have it always active for low. I like it inactive high, just so I can see them no matter what I'm doing. Your snap angle is steer automatically to follow snap angle. So I leave mine at 1%. It's just a 1% that it'll stick on that line. So you have 1, 5, 15, 22, 45, and 90. And that's the degrees of what it can do. I just leave mine at 1. It's a lot more precise. It just means that if I turn my wheels just a little bit and reset, it'll reset my line. So the working width here, for instance, is at 33, which is how big my boom is. We're going to switch that to 0 here for a second. Or not. We'll switch it to 1. So obviously my sprayer does bigger than 1 meter, but we're going to switch it to 1 for a second. Offset of tool, I really don't use this one a whole lot. This one here will be used more for like your John Deere Mocos, your bale pickers, anything that goes off to the side of your tractor. And then your inverse offset, I do believe as you go down one row, when you come back the other, it'll flip your offsets. Like I said, I don't play with the offsets a whole lot, so I don't use it. This one here is left reverse guided lanes. So one of the more advanced settings that we'll get into either at the end of this video or in the next video, you can actually have VCA make a turn for you. And that's what this is. If it's, let's say you're in a combine and you want to go every 2 lanes, you can actually switch this to 2. So now instead of him going right back down the same lane you just came, he'll actually skip one and go down the next one. So for bigger implements, stuff that's harder turning, you can do it that way. You can do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All the way up to apparently 20 lanes. I don't know why you'd want to skip 20 lanes in one go, but hey, you can. And you can do that to the left side and to the right side. You can have it alternate too. So you want 2 lanes on the right, only one, or 2 lanes on the left, only 1 on the right. All your implications are there for whatever you want to use them for. Throttle, brakes, and transmission. So under the throttle limiter, I leave mine at 100%, 75%. So limit the throttle with and without left shift key. I don't even touch it. I just leave it there. That's default. I haven't changed it, haven't nothing. Low brake force is at 100%. So low brake percentage, aka rolling resistance. So when you let off the gas pedal, how far do you want to roll? Permanent keep speed. We'll get into this one. This is a new this is not a new feature. It's a new feature to me that I don't understand. I fell in love with. So automatically shifting of gears and ranges. Mine is currently turned off and it's grayed out. I do believe because all of our tractors right now are IVT and automatics. Modify motor RPM is currently turned off. The engine independently accelerates to maintain idle speed, and the variable transmission adjusts the RPM, which just means you can actually have it, I believe, idle a little bit higher if you need it to. You can also do that using your plus and minus keys on your keyboard. This is the part that deters some people. I don't know why, but it does. So traction control. Turn it on. Turn on your manual all-wheel drive and differentials. Advanced speed of front axle. Depending on the situation, I'll turn it on or off. Swap front and rear axle is a nice one. So, alright, so for traction control on, what this will allow you to do is traction control brakes individual wheels in case of slip, just like in real world. Manual all-wheel drive and differentials. This allows you to turn on front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, your front and rear differentials. So if you're in, let's say, a sticky situation and you're sitting there looking at yourself going, man, I wish I had 4-wheel drive right now, you could turn it on right here. Swap front and rear axle. I like this one because, like I was saying, some trucks you can have act like they're in front wheel drive even though they should be in rear. So I go in here and I switch them. Helps get me out of tricky situations. And then you can have your hired workers use differentials if you need to as well. And then you have your transmission HUD, which is self-explanatory, shows your transmission down here in the bottom corner. So if you don't want to use Alt, Control, and W, you can come in here and you can hit Detect With. So you'll see here it's 33% or 33. We're going to switch that back to 1. I'm going to exit out of this so you can see my lines are really narrow. Alt, Control, W again. And then if I hit the right key and I go back in, you'll see working with is back up to 33. That's it. So then if we go here, we can Control W to activate our lines. You hear the GPS bleep. You look up over above your speedometer and you'll actually see we're heading at 180 degree. So let's take it as a clock. Right, so 360 would be north. South would be 180. Right? And then you have your west and your east. So we're currently heading at 180 degree bearing at 33 meters. If it's blue, that means it is now active. So let's turn on our sprayer and we can start going. Following this line. So what I was saying earlier about VCA or your GPS being able to skip rows. So as we're coming to the end here, I'm not going to touch anything. I'm not going to touch my gas. I'm not going to touch nothing. On my keyboard, I'm going to hit left Alt and A. You'll see how it shifted the line over. My tractor's automatically going over. He's going to get hooked back on that line and he's going to head right back up. So Alt A and Alt D will allow you to reverse your course in the opposite direction. So if you're going north-south, it'll then send you south-north. On, obviously, D would be right, A would be left. So as we get up here to the end, I'm going to hit Alt and D. It's going to immediately put my course over to the right, and now I'm not touching anything. And we're going to go right back down this line. So obviously you can do this all manually yourself. When you get to the end of the line, you can deactivate your GPS just by steering. Steer whatever direction you want. It'll break your line. Then you can drive over, get lined back up, reactivate your GPS, and away you go, which is just Control W. So as we get here, it'll break it, which makes it white. I'll drive over, drive up. Get all swirly. Let's talk about a perfect time to have a server lag spike, right? Because this is on the Red Dirt Ranch server. Then here we go back up, and this is actually a contracted field, so I'm not overly picky about it, but just trying to give you guys the gist. So we'll hit left Alt and D as we come back up because we're going to need one more pass down. It'll take us in a little bit into 24, but that's fine. And then as we come back down, it was just that simple. So hopefully this video is helpful. I hope I can help somebody with it, even if it's just the new guys that are joining our servers. Just gives you a base of what's happening with VCA, and I know a lot of people have questions that have never used it or are new to PC gaming for farm sim. As we get to the end here, I'm just going to do it myself. There we go. That makes our contract complete. And I can fold back up. So the other feature that I was talking about is the keep speed feature. So what the keep speed feature does, and my GPS lines, I don't think they should disappear. If not, I will go in and change that. There they go. My internet today is not liking the server. So we're just gonna come up here. We're just gonna park here in the store. Actually, it's not even the store, it's just a random house. Let's go over some of the settings, or some of the keybinds. So anything here that says VCA will be obviously the VCA mod. So mine is Alt-C to open my settings. Global settings, that's on a server. Is Control Alt and C. Toggle view direction is forward and back, so it's right shift forward. You can do peak, that's what we were talking about a second ago with the peaking stuff. So rotate left, rotate lane guidance direction left, which is Control up, and rotate lane guidance direction right, which is Control left, or Control down. So we'll go here, going forward. So here's our GPS lane. So if we go Control up, apparently it doesn't do anything. So left and right will shift our lines. So if we're not lined up perfectly to where we want to be, we can use left control, left and right. For whatever reason, up and down wasn't doing anything for me, even though it says it does. And then you have your shift left, shift right is Control left and right. Lane guidance is Control W. Left reverse lane guidance, which is Alt A. And reverse or right reverse lane guidance, which is Alt D. So what that means is, if you look here, if I get not out of my tractor, back into my tractor, so you can see here we can head down this lane. Now if I hit, yeah, so it's Alt A will switch it over to my left, and Alt D will bring it to the right. If I hit Control, bring it back here to me. If I hit left Control and A, apparently it's not going to do anything. Same as D. It's supposed to. So if it's active and now I hit Control A, it's actually brought me over to the left, but it'll keep me going forward. So it's a way to sidestep, I guess you would say, if you want to continue going down. So let's say you knew the, like, that house that's out in the distance. So you're coming up to it, but you just want to go beside it. You can actually use Control A to come as you're coming down to go over and continue down it. And then you can also do Control D. I know this is information overload, but it's fine. You guys got this. I believe in you. And trust me, I am no expert at this. This is a first for me too. And that's what those do. So that's your Alt A, your Alt D, your Control A, your Control D. So it's your reverse guidance line, so the one that was before you. And then you have Control D, which is your next guidance line, which is the next one beside you. So one's to your left, one's to your right, give or take what way you're going down a field. Reactivate lane guidance. So instead of hitting Control W every time, you can actually just hit Control S and it'll bring you back to the last one that was active. So now if I want Control A, I can hit Control S, Control W, and then let's say I broke it. I should be able to hit Control S without having to re-enter it. So I can hit Control S just to reactivate instead of actually changing it. So if we were going here, for instance, this is Control W. For whatever reason, if I broke it, I can just hit Control S and it'll come back onto it. But let's say here I broke it. If I hit Control W, it'll do the same thing. So I don't know what the difference is. I guess it's just 2 buttons to do the same thing. Actually, I bet you I know where the difference lies. Go Control W. Now if I go outside of this range, it should reactivate to that one. But if I'm here, it'll reactivate to that one. Let's see. Yeah, so if as that, so what Control S will do is if you come out too far, it'll bring it back to the last active one. So if I would have hit Control W here, for instance, I would have came back to this line. It would have came here. But because I hit Control S, it went back to the last active one, which would have been the line before. So if you get all swirly and you get out, instead of hitting Control W, you can just hit Control S to go back to the last active line. Go back into some of these settings. And then you have your determine working with, which is Control Alt and W. Reset lane direction, which is Alt W, so that'll reset your lane. Keep global camera direction, I never use it. Permanent keep camera direction, control and insert, I never use it. You can go through a lot of these settings and see them for yourself. Automatic shifting, I don't use. Front differentials. Okay, so automatic shifting is if you had manual transmission on, you can actually use this to lock it into automatic. Front differentials is the control and the square bracket. All and front wheel drive is the control and the apostrophe, and the back differentials is the control backspace or backslash. What these 3 here allow you to do is to set up all your differentials, all your lockers, all that kind of stuff. So that's where it comes in and says, hey, I wish I had 4-wheel drive. All right, all front wheel drive. Control exclamation point. Exclamation point, yeah, if I can only talk. Control apostrophe, that'll lock it in. You can lock in your back differentials if you find that you're just having a little bit of wheel slip in the back end. You can lock that in that way with control backslash. And all of these will deactivate after 12 miles per hour. So here you have your hand throttle more or less. What this allows you to do is, let's say you're running an auger cart. Well, as you come up, you'll notice your RPM will jump up as you're unloading. Well, you can actually manually have it do that. I don't have one to do it, but you can actually come in. So if I come in here, for instance, I'm currently at an idle, right? Well, I can come in and bring my tractor up to a full res, and it'll stay there. And then I can come in, I can drop her back down. So if you're trying to unload a cart, for instance, or a dump truck, and you want the hydraulics to work a little bit faster in real life, you just rev it up. In Farm Sim, it's your version of a rev. It does affect the auger carts. I've noticed that if you rev it up, it will unload a little bit faster. And then here you have raise and lower all front tools and raise and lower all back tools. So you can actually control it. So let's say with Alt V, as you're coming up with a, let's say it's a triple mower. So as you're coming up, you can lift your front mower up first, and then with Alt V, and then as you're coming up to the back end of it, you can actually hit control right Alt and V, and it'll lift your back mower. And then as you're coming back into the next pass, you can actually bring down your front mower first as you come in, and then as your rear mowers get into it, you can lower that down with it. And vice versa, you can actually activate your front PTO and you can activate your rear PTOs with Alt B, and then obviously control right Alt and B. So that's a little bit of VCA. You can swap speed with 4. Handbrake on or off, I rarely use it. The permanent keep speed, that is a pretty cool feature, and we'll go over that right quick. So if I come back into Alt and C, because this will give me a little more of a definition on this side of what it does. But permanent keep speed. If permanent keep speed is enabled, then the accelerator pedal behaves like a joystick. This is like driving with cruise control. So I'm going to turn this on for a second. So you can look above my HUD over here, my tachometer, and you're going to see in the bottom here it says keep speed. Right now it's set to 0.0 miles per hour. If I start accelerating, you're going to see that number is going to rise. We're going to go to 4, and it's now going to stay there. So I will be stuck at 4.1 miles per hour. I can hit my brake and it'll slow it down. What that is good for is it won't go above that. So for whatever reason, let's say I had an implement down. I had a plow in the ground and I'm doing 10. I lift my plow out of the ground and it'll jump up with cruise control, because you can see down in the bottom my cruise control is set to 32. So if for whatever reason I had a plow in the ground, as soon as I lift it, I'd start accelerating to 32. Well, with keep speed, I will not go above 10. Well, I say that as I'm doing 11, but my game's a little laggy right now. I'm pinging the server at like 100. And then just as easily, I can come back in, I can slow that down. So what this is helpful for is, let's say you're coming into a combine and you don't want to adjust your cruise control, because my cruise control is still active. I can go in and I can hit 3 right now and it'll switch it. I can hold 4. So if I hit 4, it'll automatically switch to 6, 9, 32. So for this tractor, 32 is max speed. 6 is your average combine speed. 9 is your average forage chop speed. 32 is full speed. And then you can use 3 to activate. 1 and 2 still raise and lower. So it doesn't change anything there, but that's pretty neat feature that you can swap your speeds that way. Just quick and easy, it remembers those 4 speeds. So yeah, guys, that's the VCA mod pretty much in a nutshell. There's a lot more to it. The more you start playing with it, the more you get into it. Lately, I find myself using the keep speed feature a lot. So what I have done is on my side tech side panel, where you have your cruise control by default. So if I rolled that wheel, which is considered 26, 27 on the side panel, if I roll it forward, it's my accelerate. So it's just like a gas pedal. So I don't have keep speed on right now, so I have to constantly keep rolling it forward to move. But if I turned on keep speed, for instance, if I roll it forward, you can see that it's going up. Now I'm stuck at 6.7 miles per hour. And if I start rolling it back, it starts slowing it down. So what I like about this is if I'm doing field work, I can use that kind of like a throttle. So I don't have to touch my pedals. It's kind of more of an IVT transmission kind of deal, where even in the bigger tractors, if you want to go a little bit faster, you just reach over, roll your throttle up a little bit more, which might bring your RPMs up a little bit. And then if you're in the right gear, it'll let you go a little bit faster. And if you find you're going too fast, you can just notch it down just a little bit, and it makes it just that little bit easier to control. So hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. It was a bit of a ramble, but I hope everybody has a great day, great night, great evening, great whatever time it is for you. Don't forget, check me out over on twitch.tv/JDoorGaming1. Have a good one, everybody.